and it's late in the evening. Uh, I thought that today I would revisit a topic that we discussed a few months ago about weight loss. There's some new information out there, and I just want to review some of the topics that we've discussed relating to uh, weight loss, or more accurately, loss of body fat. So, there's a lot of different topics that involve weight loss, and sometimes that can be confusing. Uh, for for example, you may be familiar with uh, metabolic syndrome, which basically was a formula devised by a group of doctors to calculate your the propensity for developing serious afflictions related to uh, excess body fat. But it is a measurement analysis, and it measures a couple of things: the your girth in centimeters or inches, uh, your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure levels. And the idea of this metabolic syndrome was that it would demonstrate clearly whether you have a propensity for more serious afflictions. Uh, Slightly lower blood pressure, slightly higher blood sugar is not so bad if it's kept under control. So, what this gave you was a clear cut number to look at to assess whether you should be more careful about what you eat or exercise a little bit more. So, that's the metabolic syndrome, and that really doesn't address the issue of body fat alone. The other significant number is BMI, body mass index. And you'll see this on most of your physical examinations, the readout that they give you about blood analysis and urinalysis to assess body function. Keep in mind that body mass index is uh, calculated, wasn't calculated by a doctor or an exercise physiologist. It was calculated, I believe, by a mathematician uh, 50 or 60 years ago uh, to give a general indication of weight gain over the years. It's, I believe, the calculation is your weight divided by your height squared. If you're interested, I'm sure there's a plethora of information on the internet about BMI. Um, Keep in mind that BMI assesses your entire volume, body mass index. So that means your bones, your muscles, your skin, your fat, and water, everything. So it is one indication, and it's a very general indication. So we're going to be trying to be a little bit more specific tonight and talk about fat, body fat, excess body fat. So you need body fat. So first of all, let's take a look at the role that body fat plays. Yes, it is stored energy, and some of us store energy more efficiently than others. If you look at it in one perspective, a thin person is not prepared for an emergency situation. The body stores fat because it prepares us for the time when we will not be able to eat. And this goes back to the time when we were hunter-gatherers, where food supply was periodic. Sometimes they had a lot of food, sometimes very little food. So the body's capacity to store fat gave us an edge in terms of survival. So to be have a little bit of excess fat is not necessarily a bad idea, as long as it's only a little bit. It's where the excesses come in. So fat plays the role, as I just mentioned. It's stored energy in the eventuality that you may need that. It also controls body temperature to a certain extent. It'll insulate you against the cold, and it'll prevent you from operating an efficient air conditioner, your body, how your body sweats and evaporates and cools the body. It tends to interfere with that. So there are different uh, advantages and disadvantages to look at. Lastly, it protects you against, to a certain extent, against trauma. Interesting enough, I think last year or a year before, they unearthed the gladiators, or some of the gladiators, and found that the contents of their stomach were primarily barley grains. So the gladiators that you see on television movies with very well defined and abdominals and very muscular, is not necessarily the reality. In fact, they were probably a little bit obese because if they got cut with a sword, the fat protected the inner organs from getting cut by the sword. Still pretty serious, but it wasn't as serious as it could be. So it protects us in several different ways and works against us in several different ways. And that's why the World Health Organization has established guidelines for what is the ideal percentage of body fat that contributes to assisting us in terms of storing energy and temperature control and perhaps even trauma. And to what extent does it damage us in terms of raising our blood pressure, or as a result of excess blood sugar? So how does that work? So they've come up with a percentage, and the percentage is generally, and I stress general because it changes. For women, the ideal, or I should say the norm, body fat percentage is between 18 and 25%, plus minus 3%. So you have an area between 15 and 28% where you can have that much adipose tissue and still be within a healthy state. So less than that can be just as bad as having more than that. So that's the parameter. So I suggest that if you're interested in losing body fat, that you find exactly where you are currently. For men, it's a little bit different. The norm for men is between 15 and 23%, plus minus 3%. So from 12 to 26%, that's the range of body fat where you are not endangering your health by having too much excess. So that's the parameter. The ideal depends on what you do. For example, if you're a marathon runner, certainly the low end of the scale will help you. On the other hand, if you're a sumo player, probably the high end of the scale is probably a better bet. They can be used. But this gets back to whether you want to look buff or whether you want to be healthy or you want to perform well in an athletic pursuit. Those are different categories, but I digress. So those are the parameters. So if you have an excessive amount, you write down a piece of paper, well, this is what my percentage of body fat is. So how do you assess that? Well, lately, there are commercially available scales that are impedance-based, and they measure their percentage of body fat in your body, and they're fairly accurate. The truly accurate way to do it is hydrostatic weighing. So you get in a basket, in a bathing suit, they immerse you in a tank of water, and they calculate the amount of water you displaced, and they come up with a figure, and that's what your percentage of body fat is supposed to be. So I don't think you're going to find one of these devices around the corner, so we're left to scales that do this for us. If you belong to a fitness center, some entrepreneur-based companies that come up with what they call in-body. And what that does, it's impedance-based. It sends a very low-level electrical charge through your body, and the resistance is calculated. So normally the ones you buy at the electronics store, you just stand on it. But the in-body, you also place your hands on it, so it gives you a better overall picture of your percentage of body fat overall in your both upper body and lower torso as well. So if you have those things available, that's something that you might want to avail yourself of if they are present in your fitness center. Anyways, so again, it's multifaceted, so you have to forgive me if I digress. So say you've calculated your body fat, And say you are a woman and you are 5% over the recommended body fat percentage. So that means that you would be, if 18 to 25, 28, that would be, you would be 33% body fat. You would be 5% over the allowable body fat percent, allowable in terms of uh, optimizing your health uh, propensity. So, say you're 5% over. So you're 5% over the norm. So you look at your body weight and you say, okay, I weigh 150 kilos. So, or 100, I'm sorry, 150 pounds. So you're 150 pounds, or if we can do it, let's do it in grams because this is Japan and is the metric system. And we all have to get used to it. So let's say you're 5%, and so suppose you weigh 60 kilos. So 5% of 60 kilos is 3 kilos. So you are 3 kilograms over fat, not overweight, over fat. So you have 3 kilos too much body fat to allow you an optimum state of health. And so you wish to lose that 3 kilograms of body fat. And primarily for health reasons. You will probably look better. If you're involved in an athletic event, usually less fat will help you. But we're primarily concerned here with health attributes. So you want to get within the optimum health range, and you want to lose 3 kilograms of body fat. Okay, so how do you do this? And what does that mean? Well, that's really the crux of what we're talking about tonight. And this is, I hope you have got something to write with, because there's a lot of math involved in this. I'm not going to dwell too much on the math, just more what you should do. So body fat is calculated at 7,700 calories per kilogram. So if you're 3 kilograms overweight, then you have 23,100 calories worth of excess stored energy in the form of fat. So you want to, how do I burn that off? Well, there are two ways. You can exercise it off, which we'll get into, so you can burn more, or you can eat less of your daily requirement. This is going to get tricky. So, say you want to take the passive route. I'm going to eat less than my daily requirement, meaning the number of calories required to maintain my body weight. So, this is what you do. First of all, you calculate your basic metabolic rate. Now, I refer you to the internet because the calculation, for those of you who want to do it, the calculation is very long and complicated. I'm not going to explain it here. Generally, you can, depending on age, calculate it at 26 calories per kilogram of body weight. So, say you're, for somebody like myself, 100 kilos, that means that 2,300 to 2,600 calories is my basic metabolic rate. That means that if I do nothing, if I am hospitalized and I need basic sustenance to maintain this body, then I will require that much energy. And that's what basic metabolic rate is. It's how much energy you require to maintain your current living state. And this is what nutritionists do in hospitals. They'll calculate not only your nutritional requirements, but also your caloric requirements, because they don't want you to leave the hospital obese, worse than when you came in. So that's the first thing you calculate. You calculate your basic metabolic rate. I urge you to go to the internet and look at the formula because it is complicated. And write it down. Then you say, okay, well, I'm not very active during the day. So you have to look at this. You have to look at activity levels during the day. So, and this seems to be somewhat general. So it's a little tough because different body types burn calories at different rates. And we covered that before. The three basic body types, ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, again, burn calories at different rates. And consequentially, their body mass, uh, basic metabolic rate can be substantially different. So, activity level. So you've calculated your BMR, your body mass, your basic metabolic rate. You've calculated that. So now you take a percentage of that depending on your activity level during the day. So suppose you're like in the era of Corona, you're sitting in front of a computer all day. Well, you're not burning a lot of energy, but you're not laying down sleeping either. So being inactive, even though you're in a sitting state, you can calculate that activity as 30% of your basic metabolic rate. So if you're, let's keep the calculation simple. If you calculate this and you figure that you have uh, 2,000 calories as your baseline, and you're not very active. So you take, okay, well, what's 30% of 2,000? Well, that's 600 calories. So you add that to 2,000. So now you have your basic metabolic rate and you have your activity level. And then you get into exercise. So that's an entirely different calculation because aerobic exercises burns calories at a higher rate than resistance training. And so you have to calculate that. Then you multiply how many hours a day or how many minutes a day, and you have to average out for the week. And it gets to be pretty convoluted. So that's how you do it. The three different things. You calculate your basic metabolic rate, you calculate your activity level, and you calculate the number of calories you expend during exercise. And if you don't exercise, it doesn't enter the calculation. And then what you do is, even if you exercise, you eat less than that amount. Now, if you eat, say, 700 calories less than that number of calories, then after 10 days, you will have consumed 11 days, 7,700 calories, and your body weight will drop by 1 kilogram, ideally. Unless you have a medical condition that predisposes you to, that interrupts the body's processes for converting energy, and that may be a little bit different. So people are always looking for answers. What is the answer here? I exercise and I don't seem to lose weight. Well, exercise alone, you don't lose weight. And I'll explain why. Because when you exercise, you burn calories. That is true. That is true. And more importantly, you stimulate metabolism. Metabolism is the rate by which you convert energy. So aerobic exercise is, depending on intensity, can burn as much as 7 or 8 calories per minute, which is substantial, considering that basic metabolism, doing nothing, is about 1 calorie a minute. If you burn 7 calories a minute, you're doing 7 times your BMR, which is significant. But it doesn't last very long. You used to think that exercise, aerobic exercise, the stimulation to metabolism lasted for several hours. Now they've rethought that, and this is kind of a new take on it. So usually, again, depending on intensity, how high your pulse rate is during the exercise, and how long you continue that exercise, and the way you conduct the aerobic exercise can vary substantially. But usually it only lasts for 1 to 2 hours after you've finished your aerobic exercise routine. So it's not all day long. And that can be, it can be substantial. I don't debate that. But it's not the entire answer. Because when you do aerobic exercise, or for that matter, weight training for that matter, your blood sugar drops. And as we all know, or should know, appetite is stimulated by two things: lowering your blood sugar and lowering body temperature, which is, when you think of it, kind of common sense, right? Your body temperature lowers, the body says, you're in trouble here. Come on, let's pick up, let's stoke the fires. And so your metabolism picks up and you start you start to eat, basically. And unfortunately, most of us choose the wrong foods, which is the big mistake. Same way with aerobic exercise. Uh, Even though you finish the exercise, you're still hungry. Your blood fats or your blood sugars are low, so you turn to the nearest uh, solution. And unfortunately, that can be sugar. And almost all the new information out there about exercise and weight loss is about, everybody agrees, regardless of the science, regardless of the causative factors, regardless of what contributes to stimulate metabolism, what burns more calories, everybody agrees on one thing: avoid refined sugar, if not totally eliminate it from your diet. Now, sometimes that's easier said than done. And it's not just the refined sugar you put in your coffee or tea. It's also the sugar you don't see, which is in the foods on the shelf, because sugar is used as a preservative. And from several years ago, they replaced refined sugar with corn syrup, which is very, very sweet. And consequently, obesity levels rose precipitously all over the world. But in the United States, it's very aggressive because people eat packaged food, uh, basically because it's a quick fix. You're hungry, you want something to eat, you don't have time to consider the caloric contents of the food you're eating or the nutritional value. You just say, I'm hungry, I want to eat. So I understand that. That's understand. But if you want to lose weight, then you have to step back and take a little bit more careful look at exactly what it is you're consuming and how is it going to affect my blood sugar. So if you're looking at quick fixes like sports drinks, which are loaded with sugar, like carbonated drinks, which are loaded with sugar, yes, it quells the urge to eat, quells appetite, but only short term, because it raises your blood sugar precipitously, and then insulin starts to be secreted by your pancreas, and that drops it down low precipitously. Then you get hungry an hour later again, and so you have more sugar, and that proceeds during the day if you're not careful. So, as most responsible nutritionists will tell you, one of the answers to this is you pay very close attention to what you are eating, and as close to the natural state as possible is a good idea. Fresh vegetables, fresh. I know it's an old line, and you've heard it before, but it is absolutely true. Except for some people come up with what they call the caveman diet, and so they eat meat raw. I don't know where they come up with this. That's not a good idea. That's a balanced diet. And again, nutritional guidelines are certainly out there and available for people who have a little bit of weight. They want to lose a little bit of weight, not anything excessive, maybe 3 or 4 kilos. It's not a great deal. But if you eliminate sugar from your diet, especially refined sugar, you'll be amazed how quickly weight loss occurs in a matter of weeks, if not days, depending on what got you to where you are in the first place. If you've been an avid chocolate or candy consumer, cutting that out, that's usually a significant subtraction of calories from your diet. And not to mention the fact that it'll play havoc with your teeth and your internal system and a bunch of other stuff. Some new information about about refined sugar being part of the causative factor of Alzheimer's. It tends to affect the nerves in the brain adversely, and so it potentially enhances the advancement of Alzheimer's disease, not just weight loss. So, what seems to be the key here? Scientists tell us that although all this information is out there about what exercises will be best to stimulate your metabolism and to burn calories, and despite of all the nutritional advice out there about what you should eat, high in nutrition, low in calories, what do people choose to do? Well, there is a thing called food addiction. And the addiction to sugar is significant. You shouldn't underestimate it. Well, I'll just stop eating sugar. It's not that easy. Not that easy. Our bodies are eager to create habits, our actions. It gives us a sense of security in many different things. Uh, if you pay too close attention, you will find that you brush your teeth the same way. When you take a shower, you wash your body the same way. If you don't do things the same way, it creates a sense of unease, and you don't know what it is. You're a little bit uneasy. So what should I do? So, and that affects eating as well. So all this information is out there, okay? BMI is out there, BMR is out there, metabolism is out there, exercise burns calories. Aerobic exercises burns calories more efficiently than weight training, but weight training will change your body composition, so it will raise your metabolism long term. It won't raise it a lot, but you don't need to raise it a lot. What you do need to do is to raise your metabolism overall for a long period of time. Hence, exercise as a daily routine. Let me talk to you. What doesn't work? Okay, what doesn't work? Well, in Japan, they have a thing called an aesthetic salon, which is basically massage, and although recently they've involved some nutritionists. Massage does not work. It just moves the fat around a bit. Number one. These electrical stimulus devices that give a very low voltage electrical stimulus to your different body parts to reduce body fat. And the way they convince you of this is they take somebody who's usually pretty trim to begin with, and they put this device on and they measure their waist before, and then they put the device on for 10 minutes and they measure it again and say, look, you've lost 3 or 4 centimeters off your waist. Well, what's occurred is the electricity that goes through these devices into your body takes water and disperses it away from where the device is located. So, of course, you're going to be thinner in that area for about 45 minutes, and then the water is going to return to that area, and you're going to be just as large. It does not burn fat. The same thing goes for home use exercise equipment that does the work. Not that facilitates you doing the work, but these devices that does the work for you. You can't burn calories if you don't do the work, and that's the long and the short of it. You burn calories when you are physically exerted. There is no shortcut in that regard. So that's the idea with exercise. There's a whole encyclopedia about aerobic exercise, what you should do, how long you, but beyond what we're talking about tonight. Aerobic exercise is very efficient, no doubt about it. One of the problems with exercise is that they say exercise will solve all your problems. Well, it won't. It won't. You need to be a little bit more aware. And that's why the 3 pillars of optimum health are medical considerations, dietary considerations, and exercise considerations. So keep that in mind. A lot of stuff to keep in mind here. I understand this. So get back to our example. You're 3 kilograms overweight and you want to lose 23,000 calories. And you want to exercise, and so you exercise to the point, say, for an hour and a half. And depending on your body size, you burn 500 calories. If you are careful and you don't change your diet from what got you where you needed to be to start exercising, then perhaps most of that 500 calories will come off in stored energy. If, however, you eat those 500 calories you burned off, if you eat 500 extra calories, more than you normally consume, you won't lose weight. You'll become healthier, probably. I mean, weight loss is not the answer, the only answer to optimum health. But people put this across saying, yes, well, if you lose weight, you'll become healthy. Well, yes, you will, but not entirely. To lose weight, you will probably, your blood pressure will drop. If you lose weight, the chances are you will probably have to adjust your diet. So your blood sugar levels will probably drop. If you're careful about your diet as an extension, cholesterol levels will drop. Your propensity for heart attacks, serious medical problems will be reduced. There's no doubt about it. Weight loss does that, but it's not the only answer. It's not the only answer. What really bothers me is that professional people who should know better put forth this scenario, and just like I did, they said, this is your BMR, this is your activity level, this is your exercise, this is how many calories you burn normally, this is how much you have to reduce your caloric intake, and the net result is you will lose these many calories per day, which over long term will equal these many grams in body fat, on and on and on. And then they say, well, see, now that you did this, you don't have to exercise anymore. You just have to be careful and consume whatever it is they're selling you. There is a doctor on the internet. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get into trouble here. And he's a cardiologist. And he's put forth the theory that you have bacteria in your gut, which is known. And the bacteria in your gut thrives on, there are two types, the good bacteria, the bad bacteria. And the good bacteria thrives on nutrition and sends a sense of satisfaction to the brain, which controls the impulse to eat, what they call the satiety centers. Then they get the bad bacteria who stimulate the brain to eat more sugar. And he maintains that he's come up with a formula that reduces the bad bacteria and increases the good bacteria. So there you are. And if you do this, you will lose weight dramatically. And so you never have to go to the gym again. You never have to do another sit-up. Completely placing the whole exercise physiology world on its tail. Well, you don't have to worry about aerobic exercise anymore because you'll be the ideal weight. Yeah, you don't have to worry about strengthening your heart or your circulatory system or your cardiovascular system or reducing cholesterol, or you don't have to worry about any of these things because you'll have lost weight. You don't have to worry about increasing muscle mass because as you get older, you won't be as functional. But don't worry about that because you will have lost weight. You don't have to worry about aerobic capacity because that's all right. Because if you can't take in enough oxygen, then maybe you find yourself short of breath, but that's okay because you lose weight. It's that simplification that really angers me because the body is not simple. It is not difficult to understand if you spend the time. And in many cases, proceeds and functions on a very basic level, a common sense level. So when somebody says, as long as you eat well, you don't have to exercise, that's not true. And nutritionists don't say that. They say you need to eat well, period, whether you exercise or not. But if you eat well and you exercise, that you're that much better off. And doctors don't say, well, if you come and see me and you take me medicine, you don't have to eat well and you don't have to. They don't say that. These three professionals have professional respect to everybody else in these three pillars of exercise, nutrition, and medical care. We are a somewhat complicated animal. The biggest problem I run into is trying to analyze these things and trying to bring them into some kind of perspective that we don't understand. So tonight I laid out a whole bunch of calculations that are absolutely valid. But a lot of people sit out there and say, well, don't tell me, the calculations. I just want to know, what do I do and how do I do it? Well, I could be irresponsible. I say, if you want to lose weight, that's it. It's easy. Stop eating. No problem. You lose weight rapidly. Maybe. Except that doesn't work either. Because fasting, if you're fasting for long term, which is not necessarily a bad idea, but in terms of weight loss, what happens is your metabolism slows down. Now, there's seems to be a very successful methodology out there called intermittent fasting. And people who have a very, very tough time losing weight uh, go to bed around, say, 10 o'clock at night and don't have another meal until 16 hours later. And then they eat normally until they go to sleep at night. This is not doesn't seem to be a bad idea. Uh, but just because it's a good idea, I don't think people should overdo it. And I think perhaps you might want to talk to your doctor first before you adopt this kind of extreme approach to weight loss. Although uh, lately my work schedule has automatically put me in that category. So I go to sleep around 9 o'clock at night, but I don't get a chance to eat until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon the following day. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours. And without trying, I lost 12, 13 kilos over about 2 months. It wasn't, but I exercise every day anyway. So I said, well, that's not a big deal. Well, wow, you're doing pretty good here. I've lost this weight, but I didn't change my eating habits that much. Not that much. I still went to the gym, a couple hours a day because I enjoy going. I enjoy the exercise. It's time for me. I can think about things, and it's very enjoyable. The gym is not necessarily a bad place, and it's not a place for suffering and killing yourself. It's a place to enhance. You should feel better after you've gone to the gym than you did before you got there. Most people feel that if I do that, well, then why should I go to the gym? I mean, getting healthy means that I feel tired after the gym. That's not true. You don't feel worse after you spend an hour or two in the gym. You should feel better, both emotionally and physically. So the gym is not a bad place to go. And if you're doing the right things, you get good instruction, you'll be enhanced. And I think I'm pretty safe in saying this. It is one of the best decisions you will ever make in your life is to exercise on a regular basis 3 to 6 times a week on a moderate level of exercise. You don't have to go there to be an excellent athlete. You just have to go there to get rid of the excesses. That's why the World Health Organization has included it in their 7 steps to optimum health. You stop smoking, you stop drinking, you eat well, you don't get overweight, you avoid stress, you get plenty of sleep, and you exercise daily. And come on. That's it's not exactly rocket science. In many cases, oh yeah, okay. Can it be that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Although people who smoke don't think it's simple, and people who drink don't think it's simple. It's simple. Just an exercise of will. You are perfectly capable of being exactly the state of your physical state, and as a result, perhaps your health state. Exercise will permit you to do this. It doesn't take the place of medicine. It does not take the place of not getting a virus shot. It does not take the place of yearly checkups. It just enhances your physical being. And that's what exercise offers you. It offers you more if you're willing to make the sacrifice, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about losing 3 kilograms of body fat, but it's 23,000 calories. Okay, so it's going to take some time. Give yourself some time to do this, and don't go to the extreme. People have an attitude. It seems that yesterday I was slim and today I'm fat. So that means tomorrow, if I work out and I take care of my diet, I should be back to where I was by the day after tomorrow, right? No, it doesn't work out that way. It doesn't go down. Another thing I think I should point out tonight, and again, this goes against what the media is trying to tell you, and that is spot reduction, one of my favorite topics. The body doesn't work on spot reduction. You will lose weight first in certain areas of the body, and that is dictated by the number of capillary beds in that area of your body. So almost everybody who loses weight, the first place they notice it is in their face. Well, that's because capillary beds, the propensity of capillary beds in your face, your neck up, is very large. So you burn more fat. You burn fat overall, but it tends to dissipate first in your facial features. And then to the large muscle areas where blood and veins and arteries and capillary beds are formed. The last place it goes is around your waist because, as I mentioned previously, your waist doesn't have a great deal of muscle mass to protect the internal organs. So the fat is there to control the temperature or to assist in controlling the temperature of the internal organs and to prevent against trauma. And that's where it's stored. And that has to do with the multiplicity of roles that fat plays in the human body. So keep these things in mind. Metabolism seems to be the key. Counting calories, even though I put a lot of calories out there to count, doesn't seem to be effective. What does seem to be effective, which nutritionists have been telling us for years and years, is paying attention to what you eat. What about diet? Well, there is a great deal of information about diet out there. This diet and that diet and this diet. The diet that seems to be very carry a lot of weight is eliminating sugar, certainly, and carbohydrates from your diet. Now, this flies in the face of some alternative information. And again, that's more than what we're supposed to talk about tonight. But keep in mind that carbohydrates also are the source of glycogen. And glycogen is the source of energy that is the gasoline for this engine that we carry around with us. So it's refined carbohydrates that seem to be doing the damage. So that means refined sugars. That means syrups, which are the same thing as refined sugar. Naturally occurring sugars in fruit and vegetables do not seem to be a problem. Naturally occurring starches in terms of potatoes, certain types of rice. Again, if you're not excessive. The nutritional world is reassessing the balance of nutrition. And they kind of say, well, perhaps 60% of your diet should be, you should consume carbohydrate. I think they're stepping back from that a bit. But it depends on your situation. So the first thing to do is to eliminate, if you want to get back to our example. Again, I'm sorry I'm digressing, but there's so much information. If you want to lose that 3 kilos, time and time again, people come to me and say, I want to lose weight. And so I ask them about what they eat. And they say, well, I eat pretty well, and it's pretty well balanced. I say, well, what do you drink? Oh, I drink. I say, well, has it occurred to you that you might want to stop drinking? Why? Well, alcohol depresses your metabolism and it'll slow you down. Even if you exercise a lot, you won't burn as many calories as if you did not drink. And it's surprising. People are willing to eliminate food from the diet, which is necessary for maintaining their health, but they're not willing to give up alcohol. It baffles the mind. Alcohol is not necessarily nutritive. It suppresses your metabolism. There is an advantage, yeah. When we age, the walls of our veins and arteries tend to increase rigidity, and alcohol has a relaxing effect on that. So yes, it's not a bad idea. But again, this requires verification from your physician. Is that the situation, doc? I mean, should I have a little bit of alcohol? In the past, the World Health Organization has said it's better you have a little alcohol than none at all. And they urge people, just take, in the evening, one shot of liqueur doesn't hurt you, and it'll probably help you in those terms of increasing the elasticity of the walls of the veins and arteries. But they've stepped back from that. They say no alcohol, zero, which is okay to say that. But maybe they're saying that because if they said you can drink 1 glass, people will have 10. And if they say 0, maybe they'll keep it down to 2 or 3. I don't know. I don't know. But you might want to check with the doctor about that kind of thing. Your tolerance for alcohol. What is that? What does it give you? What is it damaging? And those. Again, this is can be very personal. So you want to just to review briefly. Exercise is good, but caloric expenditure during exercise is only an advantage if you careful about what you eat after you exercise. Make sure it's high in nutrition, low in calories, and you should be all right. Avoid refined sugars without a doubt. Avoid these devices that people are trying to sell you, that they're just basically a con. There are no shortcuts to, as opposed to eating a nutritionally balanced meal 3 times a day as a guideline, but only 2 perhaps. Again, you need to talk to a nutritionist to assess your needs. Some nutritionists say if you want to lose weight, you take the 3 meals, divide them into 5 meals a day, because each meal stimulates your metabolism, keep your metabolism high during the day. That's something you have to talk with a nutritionist about. And you have to make sure that you're not doing anything to harm yourself from a medical viewpoint. Excessive of anything, whether it's exercise or whether it's supplements or whatever, tends to wreak havoc. The body has certain limitations. It's a tremendously strong unit, but it has its limits. So exercising and muscular conditioning is a great idea. I'm doing it my entire life, but lifting too much, you got joint problems. Lifting too little, you don't get the benefits. Running is great, but what about your knees? What about your back? How about running too fast? Is your heart going to be tough? So these are all considerations you need to talk to somebody one-on-one to assess your needs in all of these areas. So again, I repeat myself, but talk to a doctor about your medical requirements. And if you require medication, be cautious. Get the facts. Ask the doctor, why am I taking this? What is in this medication? What are the side effects? Are there any? A responsible doctor will answer your questions. A doctor who is just there to put in his 15 minutes that he's been dictated to limit his consultation, that's probably not the doctor you want to go to. A doctor is willing to spend time with you, to look at your situation, to look at your lifestyle, to look at your diet, to look at your exercise commitment. This is the kind of doctor that cares about you. Same thing goes for nutritionists. A nutritionist who will analyze your needs and give you not just the normal information, but the information as it pertains to you. And an exercise specialist. Now, there are exercise specialists all over the internet, and they all have the answer. The person who talked about stomach bacteria was a cardiologist, doctor. And he goes through a 15, 20-minute introduction of things he's done and his credentials, and that's all well and good. And then he says, if you take my bottle of pills that I've designed for you, then you won't have to worry about weight loss. And then if you lose this weight, that'll be great for you because then you want to exercise. A professional person who says those statements should be very, very careful, I think. And because his words can be taken literally. And I did not think that was necessarily professional, but that's my opinion. That's my opinion. So, and again, exercise is, even though it's all over the internet, does that exercise regimen pertain to you? Is it the exercise that benefits you? Is it the nutrition that benefits you? Is it a medical treatment that benefits you? Not your next door neighbor and not a friend of yours, but you particularly. So you need somebody who will take your situation into consideration. And if you want to lose weight, I urge you to exercise on a regular basis, Don't indulge yourself in any extreme in terms of medication or supplements. Do not buy anything that's on the internet, on television, unless you verify with a doctor first that you need it. And choose the people that you want to discuss these things with. Choose your doctor carefully. Choose your nutritionist. Choose your exercise professional. Are they advocating something that worked for them, or advocating something that will work for you? So these are all considerations. We certainly get off track in terms of strictly adhering to weight loss. But I hope that all of this information will help you make the decision when you decide, if it is necessary for you to lose weight, that you approach it effectively, efficiently, and safely. So you come out on the other end feeling better and being healthier. For you out there who have tried everything and don't seem to be able to lose weight, there is that consideration. There is a genetic predisposition towards weight gain, above and beyond being a certain body type. So you want to get the causative factors. Why am I heavy? Why am I this heavy? For me, what is the optimum weight or optimum body fat percent according to my age and my pursuits and my state of health? So define your objective in those terms, and you should come out on top. There's a lot of things to consider. We've only covered, we just skimmed the top on this. There's a lot of information out there. If you have questions and you wish to send those questions to me at chuckwilson.co.jp, I will try and answer you. I am on Instagram and Twitter and I am Facebook. So please feel free to contact me if you have questions. And I'm on LinkedIn as well recently. So all the social media, I've tried to, I don't necessarily agree with the preponderance of social media, but it does reach a lot of people. And so I do these broadcasts. We do this broadcast on Tuesday nights. And I will try from now on Thursday nights, to add some exercise regimens as well. Saturday nights, we have Kenko Salon, and that costs money. It's 3,000 yen a month for 4 sessions, and it's interactive. I can talk to you, and we can discuss these things if you wish to. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to give you information that I think is pertinent and is derived from my personal study and experience working with people for the last 50 years. I sincerely hope that what I have to say benefits you. I sincerely hope that you are helped by this, and I sincerely hope that you live a long and healthy life. And if I can contribute to that even a little bit, it's worth the time and energy expended. So there we are. Enter-san, thank you. Yes, I said that I was not going to talk and I was going to do more exercises, and machigai nai. So this broadcast on Thursday night, this I thought was important enough to reiterate. So on Thursday nights from now on, we're going to do more exercise and less talking. And Enter-san just reminded me of that because I said that last time. So I apologize. I did not follow through on that. But next Thursday night, I will start with doing exercises for lower back. And so I apologize to those of you who tuned in hoping to see the exercises and just listen to me talk about weight loss. But there's so much irresponsible information out there nowadays about weight loss. I'm afraid I could not contain myself. Anyways, I hope to see you next Thursday, and this next Thursday will be an exercise pattern based on lower back exercises. I promise. See you then, I hope. Good night.